Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. My name is Marilyn Shannon, and this is the Breaking Free Show. And I am so happy to have you join us today. Hope you're all doing great from wherever you are. And in North Carolina, where we are, it's gorgeous out. It's just a beautiful day, and I feel like we're actually having a spring. So it's all really good. And we have a lovely guest on today, and something that I know my ears are going to be tuned into, so I know yours will be too. Get a pen, get a paper, and listen and go back and listen to the replay again because you're going to want to not miss anything. But before we get started with our guest, I want to say hi to Amnon.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good, good, good. And Amnon is our producer. So what you been up to?
Just doing
Twiddling,
things. Just
twiddling, tweaking, and what
yeah,
else? Just
and
that, this,
and
and the other?
yeah, nothing.
Nothing, nothing.
Nothing that I can concentrate on. I have to talk about.
All right.
A lot of little things.
All right. Well, we're
And
gonna
happy Passover to all our
Passover friends.
Passover friends.
Yeah, me too. So, I want to introduce my guest today, and I'm really interested in this. And it's interesting because I post this on, we post it on a lot of social media, and it's so interesting how I post all these different shows each and every week. And some shows you get, people will write back and go, "Oh, I'm really interested in this." Some shows you don't hear anything about, but they're still good, and they're planting a seed of freedom, is what I like to say. In this show, I actually got people who commented to me, like, I can't be there, but I'd love to see it. And so I sent somebody, I told somebody I'd send the replay, the link for the replay. So I know this is going to be exciting because this is a subject that we don't always know a lot about. And we're going to learn something today. So I want to introduce my guest to you today. Her name is Belinda Farrell. She's the author of Find Your Friggin' Joy. And she is an expert because of her personal life into Huna, the secret of Huna, and I'm going to let her tell you about it. So, welcome, Belinda, to our show.
Thank you. It's an honor. I'm so excited to be here.
Likewise, you're all the way from California.
Yes, Freedom State, right?
Listen, yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. Well, anywhere I am, I feel like I'm in the state of freedom.
Good.
So, and that's what we like to talk about here. We want to help educate, inspire our audience. We want to teach them new things. We want to share ideas, tools, strategies, share personal stories, everything and anything that will chip away at our feeling a sense of freedom and joy, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, share with us about who you are and your journey to Huna.
Well, it's been a long one, definitely. I'm kind of a person now who just kind of goes with the flow, and that so came to light when I was in Hawaii. I was always afraid of water, and I just kind of interjecting this. I learned how to swim at a very late age, and I was out swimming one day, just kind of exercising my wings, and I got caught in a riptide and I was drowning. And this happened, about 20 years ago when I first started getting introduced to the water. I was around Hawaii, and you're surrounded by water. And I guess they felt, she's got to learn how to swim before we can introduce her to a lot of these ancient teachings. And so there I was thinking, oh my God, it's all going to be over. I'm going to be drowning. So many things go through your mind. And I called for help. And just instantly, this giant sea turtle comes along next to me. And I could hear it say, "Do what I do." And at that moment, that's all I did was stop struggling. And this turtle took me over the current and dropped me safely onto the rocks and saved my life.
Mm.
And it just went to show me that I can't fight anything, that I can't, as soon as I start struggling, I have to really just go with the flow. So it's like whatever life brings you, you've got to really, according to what happened to me, you have to go with this flow and adjust, and you'll be safe. So I kind of segued off into that
Mm.
because that's really about my life now. And the Huna has started it. The Huna is ancient Hawaiian ways of healing ourselves, and it means secret. because the kahunas, when they were doing these ancient teachings, they were repairing bones, they were healing people. And this man named Max Freedom Long, who was a teacher there, he was observing this happening and nothing was written down. So he began to write what he saw, which were these amazing healing practices.
Okay, Belinda, hold on one second. I want to invite everybody who's listening to take part in our chat if you like, because you might hear something that you want to ask questions about that I may not ask. So, and I don't plan on asking, I mean, I want to ask as many questions as possible, but I may not know your question. And I want to invite you to join us. So, underneath our video, you'll see a little space. Put your name, your nickname in there, and you can take part in the chat. You can always call into the studio at 919-518-9773 from wherever you are, as long as you have a phone. And you can also come in on Skype at Computers 2K Voice. You won't come in on video like Belinda is, but you will come in on voice, and we'd love to have you join us. Belinda, before you go into that part, can you give us some background first? So you started talking about the turtles. Was that before you had some of your life experiences or afterwards?
That was after.
Okay.
I was deathly afraid of water.
Okay.
Let's just say up until 40 years of age, I was married to an orthopedic surgeon. I was being the good girl, always kind of like a Stepford wife. I was always doing what I'm supposed to do, playing the role, raising my children. I had 2 children. And then at 40, something shifted, and I knew that the marriage was over. I'd been married 18 years. And I started on a quest really to kind of get out of fear, because I was always doing what people told me to do. And I wasn't answering to my own drummer. So the first thing that I did was start working with Tony Robbins doing fire walks. I don't take anything lightly. That came into town, and that's what really got me interested.
And what's
And
a fire walk? Because I saw that you
Fire-
did 18 of them, I think, and I'm like,
No.
what's a fire walk?
Well, again, Tony prepares these paths of hot coals, and they're 2,000 degrees. They're actual coals, with fire, and you walk on them. And what it is a metaphor for your life. That you not only just walk on these hot coals, but it tells you that if I can walk safely across this 2,000 degree bed of hot coals, what else could I do in my life that I've not been looking at? So it becomes a metaphor for breaking out of fear. And I did 18 of these. I burned once because I wasn't in state. There's a protocol. You have to really bring your energy into becoming one with the fire. And the ancients used to do this a lot. A lot of the native people in different countries, India, I know they would sleep on beds of nails and nothing would happen to them. They'd walk on hot coals because it was a mind preparation. And that's what we did. And I did 18 of them, I think, representing the 18 years I was married.
Wow.
But what came up for me after walking on this bed of hot coals, when I said, what else would I like to do? What came up was I wanted to drive a race car. And I don't know where that came from, other than I liked bikes and wheels as a child. I just wanted to go and see if I could drive a race car. And so Tony teaches you a mantra that says, if I say I can't, then I must. And then if I must, I will. So I didn't say, well, I can't drive a race car. I said, well, I must find out where I can, go to drive a race car. Maybe they give classes.
So Belinda, let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Was these things, were they completely out of character for you?
Oh, totally.
Okay, when you say Stepford wife, what do you mean?
I was a really a good girl. I was.
So walking on coals is not a good girl.
No. Well, it breaks out of the mold.
Okay.
My husband would never have allowed me to go and put myself in danger like that. And my kids walk too.
Okay.
So I had an 8 and 10-year-old that were walking on the hot coals as well.
So you these activities were completely out of character. Not just with where would you have done them as a young child?
I think as a young child, I was always breaking away from babysitters. I was climbing
Okay.
trees. I was a little tomboy. I was trying to break away, but being an only child, everybody was pulling me back, saying, "Good girls don't do that. Don't get hurt. Don't do this." I was raised in a Catholic school. I was finally expelled in 8th grade. And an interesting fact is, I just found out I'm almost half Jewish. I had my ancestry done, and nobody told me that. I just found that out a few weeks ago.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah, a lot of different things have become more to the forefront and making sense now in
Uh,
my life.
well, I'd love you to like. So I want to connect all these dots because
Yes,
you are an example, an extreme example in some cases,
extreme.
but an example nonetheless of what many people feel, want to go through, want to experience. So I don't want to miss any of this in painting the Belinda picture, I should say. So you're this, this kid who's not wanting to stick to any kind of norm growing up, and then you marry somebody, I'm assuming, and tell me if I'm wrong, it was quite conservative, kind of
Very conservative.
right, to
Yes,
kind of ground you,
right,
and then you're probably on some level, totally unhappy in that grounding because it's not you, and how many people go through that,
right,
right? Live somebody else's life. So you break free from that.
right. I was doing acting, and that was
Mhm.
kind of a way of getting out of the normal. I think acting is a really good therapy for a lot of people. Instead of going to a therapist, you do a play,
Mhm.
or you know apply to some kind of improv group. It's just a way of expressing yourself, and that was very therapeutic. So
Okay.
I did about 5 plays before I got divorced,
Okay.
and it was amazing. Freedom. I
One.
want to emphasize your freedom, because
Yes.
that's exactly what makes people feel happy, is fulfilled and free. And that's
Yes.
that's exactly what it was. But when I got, finally divorced, I was looking at all kinds of things that I could do to overcome the fears that I had inside. Water was one of the main ones, but even with Tony, I was a teacher for him for 5 years. I never even expressed to him that I was afraid of water. I was too embarrassed because, here I was. After I went to the racetrack to learn how to drive a race car, I found out that I had some talent, and it turned into an 8-year career. They hired me to drive for Buick and Cadillac after my 4-day Grand Prix road racing course, because I could make my marks. I could turn the car and put the wheel exactly where the director or the teacher wanted me to put it. And that's worth money when you're on a commercial or a film set. So that's when that started, and it launched into a very exciting career. And I just traveled everywhere and did film work, and yeah, it was a great time. But I
Mhm.
also started to feel back problems
Mhm.
because I never stopped. And I was like an adrenaline junkie, how you're just always going, 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 going. And that was me. I didn't know how to stop and rest, and I hadn't learned about, how to listen to the body, and how to realize what the unconscious mind is communicating to you, until I just completely collapsed with herniated discs. I was modeling, I was doing film work, I was doing driving, and then all of that completely shut down. And I couldn't walk in 5-inch heels anymore on a ramp, and I couldn't drive a car, and I was completely on my own. I was dropped from my insurance. But in the meantime, I had been going to Hawaii to study hypnosis and timeline therapy and past life regression. I was interested in anything that could release us from fear and resolve why we do things,
So Belinda, let me ask you something. So
unconsciously.
you did you feel like you had to go from one extreme to the other to break
It was
free?
exciting. Yeah.
Uh huh.
Yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
was into excitement. So if there was a bike race, I'd enter it. If there was something with roller derbing, not roller blading, I was a roller
Just to
blader.
break free. I mean, when you say you were fear, you had fear. Was there a fear about these things? Yet there was an excitement, and you had to do it anyway. I mean, what was
I,
the fear? Where was the fear?
well, I skied. I was a snow skier too. I just loved the exhilaration of just speed.
But
You
what
know
were
how
you
they,
afraid of? But you
yeah.
said, what were you afraid of? Just the water?
I think I was more afraid of relationships.
Oh, okay,
It's
okay,
usually something more personal. And
gotcha.
then when you're doing the stuff that makes you feel free, it's a drug,
Sure,
really.
yeah.
It's a drug. Some people drink alcohol. I would just, ski down a mountain or, enter a race
Gotcha.
my Corvette was entered in all kinds of SCCA autocross races. I loved the excitement because it would get me out of thinking about these inner relationships.
Okay, okay, okay. Well,
Does that make
yeah.
sense?
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Because, I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, oh my God, she's doing all these. What's her fear? Where is her fear? What's her fear based in? And so you're saying relationships and, doing as much as you could to do what you were doing, not to be in a relationship or,
I
you know.
think I was afraid that if I stopped doing these things, people wouldn't love me as much. I
Uh,
had to prove that I was lovable.
so this
And
is
that's one of,
attention
yeah,
kind of thing. Okay.
there's a very big wound in our society that we are not worthy of being loved. So
Okay.
we have to work harder. We have to prove, that we are worthy of that love. And that came from, again, in the book, this memory comes up. I don't know if you got to page 109, but this memory comes up of a fetus being tossed out into this abyss of meteorites and going about 1,000 miles an hour, and they don't know, and you don't know where it's going to end up, and it's just this tiny baby being tossed out like a piece of garbage.
Hmm.
And then suddenly these hands come down and they lift up the baby and they put her safely or him safely in the arms of this very tall being with beautiful blue um, gown. And then she's looking down below at the chaos below, but she's safe. And I took from that I had been, like, I got out of the memory. It was almost like a near death experience. I was just sweating and didn't know where it come from. It felt like I had died. And afterwards I started to ask my mother a question about my birth, and she finally admitted to me that I had been taken to 3 abortion clinics, and with the intention of terminating her pregnancy. So as the fetus, I'm feeling that degree of not being wanted. So for me, it was like being tossed out like a piece of garbage. And
Wow.
I couldn't, when I came back into the world, I'm still feeling that I'm not worthy to be born or not worthy to be here. And so it's almost like a string of pearls. You create the very first pearl, which is, not feeling worthy, and then everything else attaches to that of trying to prove that, you are worthy. But all it does is prove that you're still not worthy until you're able to resolve the big picture, the big pearl. And that's what I've done finally.
So, okay, so let's continue because, I want everyone to know that, when I coach, I often tell new clients and remind my old clients that I sit in my chair, my coaching chair, on the phone ethically because I've had a life. So there's lots of, I sit there and I've lived. I feel ethically that I can coach because I am not sitting there void of having had experiences. I've had lots of experiences. Some, make me shiver. Some put hair on my chest. Some I can't believe I ever did. But I thank God for those experiences because I'm not in judgment. I
Right.
am, I'm an open book, and those experiences, have definitely taught me how to be me. Now, this woman has had different experiences, but she's had incredible experiences to catapult her forward. It's some by choice, some not by choice. And so, and we all have that in our lives. We're a container full of those things. So you've done these things. You were in a race car. You had these extraordinary experiences. Then what?
Then what? Well, I collapsed. After doing all of this, I finally, my back wouldn't support me anymore. And I completely collapsed couldn't walk, couldn't sit, could only lie down, was in terrific pain. And I was faced with the doctors telling me, you're not going to walk again unless you have surgery. Well, I had been dropped from my insurance company too, not being able to do any more stunt driving jobs, or modeling jobs. I didn't have any more insurance. And so I thought, okay, I've been learning all of this Huna processes, Huna things in Hawaii, about how to get in touch with the unconscious mind, about how to reach the higher self. And once you reached your higher self, the higher self would heal the physical body. I just had to get all the dark stuff out of the way and get closure on it.
Okay, so
Well,
we're going to go to Huna.
yeah.
But so did you start learning Huna after or before you had the financial issue and then the issue with your son?
I was learning Huna in the early 90s,
Okay.
1990.
Okay.
And
Okay.
my son was living with me, and I was going to Hawaii to get training in hypnosis and past life regression. And it just like an addendum, the Hawaiians came in and started introducing this ancient Hawaiian teaching called Huna. It was just kind of added in. It wasn't, something that I had thought was going to happen there as a result. It just got slipped in there. And I started hearing the chants. I started doing the forgiveness process, which cleans the memory bank that you have inside. And I started feeling lighter. See, show me something, like show me how the pudding tastes. Don't tell me all about how you're going to make the pudding. I want to know the results. The proof is in the pudding, right?
Right.
So
Right.
I started feeling better as a result. It wasn't talk therapy or anything like that. It was just I was doing this work, and I, as a result, was feeling better. So I wanted to learn more about Huna, which is the secrets, the ancient Hawaiian secrets. And so I started delving into it more. I started listening to the chants. I started begging the Hawaiians to teach me the chants, but I was this haole, this white person, and they were really reluctant to do it. The chants are public domain. They're for everyone, but not everyone is privy to accepting the call of the chants. I started listening to them, and then the chants kind of grabbed me. And
Okay. Okay. So
could,
before you go there, let's just go back a minute because this is all so interesting. I don't want to miss anything.
yeah,
So, you are practically crippled, I'm guessing.
yes, oh, very,
Right? And the doctors are saying like there's no hope unless you have surgery.
right.
And at this, so you go to, had you already been to Hawaii
Yes.
okay. So you start practicing Huna on yourself.
Right. I was doing it to other people, and now I had to show that this really worked on me. I'd been studying Huna now for 3 years.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so you were healed using Huna.
Absolutely.
No
It
pain.
was,
Go ahead.
yeah, it cleaned me up. I had been in bed for about a month. I was taking codeine to get out of the pain, and I had seen an osteopath, not a regular doctor, and she had me do a homeopathic questionnaire and found out that I could benefit from a small little pill that was made of snake venom. And
Uh-huh.
I took that little pill that seems to bring up memories from the spine, because that's where my problems were. My spine was completely compromised. It was I had nerve degeneration. I couldn't put any weight on my legs. It was a mess. It was really a mess. The discs were blown. Um,
So
I
can
was
I ask you a question? So had
Yeah,
you been having pain and then all of a sudden you collapsed or you
yes.
just collapsed?
I'd been having
pain, and
pain.
you didn't give in to it.
No, I
Okay.
just kept pushing through it,
Gotcha. All right. Gotcha. All
no
right.
pain, no
Yeah.
gain.
Yeah.
And then
Right.
I was finally dragging my left leg,
Hmm.
just dragging it. And it was just excruciating pain. And then I collapsed. I just completely finally
Okay.
collapsed. My son had to pick me up and put me into bed. And I was a goner. I was really just a goner by then.
Okay.
And so I had no other choice but to see if this Huna worked. And I just did it 24/7.
Hmm.
24/7. I did the forgiveness process. I wrapped myself up in green scarves, because green is the color of the heart. And, I was into the healing. I had put big posters of a totally aligned spine on my wall so that I could see it, so that I could show my unconscious mind where we were going. That's what I wanted, the message to be sent to the higher self, to bring that healed spine into me, because I knew that somewhere in my body there was a blueprint for perfect health. And I
Right.
just had to connect with it
Okay.
because
Hold on a minute. Hold on. Let's go there. So,
okay,
a blueprint for perfect health. Explain that, because that's very, very important.
yes. The unconscious mind, and this is what I had learned in Huna, that when you study the unconscious mind, the part that's actually running your body, you're not telling your heart to beat. You're getting a different set of liver cells and pancreas and bones. All of that is changing without you consciously thinking about it. And the unconscious has the job of holding the little black bags too from your memory bank, from lifetimes, from all your ancestors. And it will bring it up if you allow it to. It's like a little perfect little brother listening to everything your conscious mind says. So I started to learn how the conscious and the unconscious mind work. And I was inviting the unconscious to open up the bags and to allow these things to come out. I was doing a lot of breathing on my bed. And that's when this memory of the fetus being tossed out into to the abyss came out. And can you handle it? Well, if you don't handle it, it stays within the body and, again, gives you the symptoms that you've been having. I started to see what my self talk had been. Because, again, what you say consciously, the unconscious mind is repeating. That's what it does. It's a faithful computer. So, what I had been saying to myself unconsciously for a while is that I can't be supported. I can't be supported. And so when you constantly are telling that to your unconscious, the part of you that supports you, your spine, will not support you anymore. And that's what finally
Mm.
happened. It was like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
So the there's a lot to, and I appreciate your allowing me to interrupt you a
Yes,
lot,
that's fine.
because there's a lot of things that you're saying that I want to make sure that we clarify. So the philosophy, because
Mhm.
what you're talking about, all the things that you're talking about, right, are all part of Huna. Is that right?
Well, psychology talks about the three parts of man as well. There's
Right.
the conscious part, there's the id, the
Right.
ego, and the superego.
Right.
So there's nothing really different with that. It's just learning how these kind of work together so that you can allow the superego to come in and to heal you.
So the philosophy of Huna is
Mhm.
what? What is, if you were going to just give us a little bit of a synopsis,
Right.
what is the philosophy of Huna?
Well, for one thing, it's to lead a hurtless life. That means you wouldn't say anything to hurt yourself or to hurt another person. And if you did, you would have forgiveness. You could always just, you know, neutralize it, let it go, and start again. Because we all say things that we don't mean. We call ourselves idiots and, you stupid this or you this or why did you do that? But if you allow yourself to keep doing that over and over and over again, it begins to wear on your physical body. So, Huna is about leading a hurtless life and being conscious that you want to clear all of these perceptions so that you can reach a higher nature of yourself, your higher self.
And how do you know that this was true? How did you know that this philosophy of living a hurtless life was our destiny?
Well, it made sense, it just from common sense. I had studied psychology before, and I was seeing the patterns and how it related to one another. They just took it a deeper way in connecting to the higher self, where you can't connect through the conscious mind. You can
Right.
read 10,000 books, but you're not going to reach your higher self through that. It's just information. But
Right.
a lot of people have a lot of information. They don't do the work which connects them to the pipeline. I
Hmm.
started looking at old hieroglyphic texts. It's not just the Hawaiians that shared this, but the ancient Egyptians, the
Hmm.
Babylonians, the Syrians, they all had drawings that showed these three parts of man and the benefits of connecting to this higher great spirit of ours.
Hmm.
The Egyptians have hieroglyphics that show three cranes connected together, and how that interacts, when they're connected together, how a prayer moves up the pipeline to the higher self. I mean, it's just amazing how they have a symbol of a grasshopper that is significant of the unconscious mind, because a grasshopper is sticky and the emotions come and stick to the unconscious mind, just like they do with a
Hmm.
grasshopper.
So
It's interesting
it is
for,
very, yeah, very interesting. And so you mentioned a blueprint for health, or a
yes,
blueprint. So the our blueprint, our come from, our um, is about health,
yes,
physical
we
and
have the
go ahead.
blueprint,
We have the blueprint for physical and emotional health, and
right,
we have brought other things in humanly. We brought other
right,
things in, or whatever, into uh, dismantling that somewhat, or whatever.
exactly.
Right.
The ego,
The ego.
the ego is just, it's part of the conscious mind. It has nothing to do at all with the higher part of us. So it's constantly trying to distract us, to get us out of going inside the body and doing the work. It wants you to find love over there,
Hmm.
or under that rock, or you go to that seminar, or you read that book. I mean, just don't go inside and find the answers, because the answers are inside. It has to do with our breathing, our neutralizing the way we've been looking at things, and really beginning again. And, that's people just take on these distractions. I certainly did. I was an adrenaline junkie. I wouldn't go in and listen to what my body was saying until I collapsed.
Hmm.
Usually there's a wake up call that finally says, "We're stopping you at this point. You must listen or you'll die."
So you had to have an emotion. You had to have, and we're going to get to all this about Huna in just in a few minutes, because then I'm going to let it rock. But before we do that, I just want to say that Belinda had to have, on both planes, she had to have a physical dropping, a collapsing, and she had to have an emotional, spiritual collapsing, so to speak, in her life, in her personal life as well, in order for her to be here and writing this book that she did. Let me put the book up so you can see it. Um, can we see that on then? This is her book. Okay, so you see it, and it's very interesting. And she makes a lot of sense in there. So you had to go through everything in order to be able to speak from a place of knowing, personal knowing, that this works, and have faith in this. Would you say that's true?
Absolutely. The sunflower, which is on the front of the book,
Yes.
is symbolic of reaching your higher self.
Oh,
The
okay.
sunflower is a symbol of that higher self and going right to the center of it. If I hadn't had that complete healing, after the emotional witnessing of this baby being thrown out like a piece of garbage, and then my mother telling me that I had been tried to be aborted, um, it just made sense, because I felt, after the hands reached for me and lifted me out of that, I felt so loved.
Mm-hmm.
I felt loved by an etheric being that was not human,
Mm-hmm.
and that I knew deep down inside that that I was worthwhile, that my birth is essential. And, it just changed everything. I
Mm-hmm.
was more confident. I didn't feel like I had to prove that I was worthy to be loved. I was worthy to be loved.
Right.
And you have to get that at the very root to have everything else kind of melt away, all the other incidents melt
Right.
away.
So you
I
go
healed
ahead.
within 4 days after that.
That's what. Okay, that was my one of my. Okay, so
Yes,
you 4 days and you healed. Now,
completely. I mean,
completely.
all of a sudden there was no pain. I walked out of bed, I stood up.
Mhm.
It was as though nothing had happened. I went right away to get an x-ray, and the doctors said, they just kept looking at the different x-rays and saying, you have an aligned spine.
Mhm.
The
Wow.
scoliosis was completely gone
So
from my
then,
spine.
okay, so then I'm building a case here for Huna. So
Okay.
then after that is when you lose money financially, and then
No, I
okay.
had no money to myself then. I had given up alimony, and I was really on my own. But I thought, if I can heal myself, I certainly can bring income into my life. So that was going to be a minor thing. And I just started really doing a lot more of the Huna and going to Hawaii. Um,
And
it wasn't
when did your son pass away?
That was in 2008.
So then, and you lost your mother's investment or an investment,
Right, that was
pretty.
in 2009. It was
Okay.
the month right after that.
So
He
you have
passed away.
so you're doing Huna, you heal your body, you're using Huna, and then you have a tremendous another life
Loss.
changing experience.
Huge loss. I had moved here to Santa Cruz to be closer to my daughter and to my son, my grandson. And then my son left to do this master's degree program in Ohio. And he was just in foreign territory. He was going away from all his friends, but he wanted to do this. But he was in a lot of pain from botched surgeries on his back. He saw me heal completely. He understood it for me, but he could not go there. He could not do that. So that's why I'm saying what I did was because I took an active role in my healing. There are other people, and that's fine. They take more of a passive role. They want something to be done to them. Like my son he wanted surgery. His dad kept encouraging him to have surgery, and he followed that. But then you have to take the consequences. He was in pain as a result of that surgery and then put on prescription drugs for years.
And
And
that
um, that's
right.
what finally took him.
And then he committed suicide
Right, with the drugs.
with the drugs.
Yeah, he couldn't stand the pain. And then I lost my money and I couldn't stay in the house I was in. I couldn't even do the Huna, honestly. I mean, I was in such grief. There wasn't just this heaviness, but I knew I didn't want to be a burden. I had to keep myself somehow going. So I was selling things right and left to get the money to, just support me that month. And then a friend, a wonderful, wonderful friend, took me to see a movie called The Living Matrix.
Mm-hmm.
And it was playing at our Inner Life Ministries chapel here. And I didn't want to go. I just thought, oh, please, no, I don't want. I just wanted to stay in my misery. And she dragged me there. And I was introduced to this film, and it was with Bruce Lipton, Dr. Bruce Lipton, and Dr. Eric Pearl. And I watched Dr. Pearl do an amazing healing on a young boy from Greece who was in a wheelchair and had been just thrown into the wheelchair and nobody could help him anymore. And he never even touched him. I saw him just like pulling frequencies
Mm-hmm.
or just something going on between his hands. And I just took myself at attention. It was the same feeling I had when I was first learning about Huna,
Mm-hmm.
because I never did anything healing wise other than Huna all those years. And then this just grabbed me. And all of a sudden, he showed this little boy after 3 sessions and he was playing in the playground. And he was just working and operating like a regular kid. He could hold a cup for the first time, hold a cup in his hand. And I was just adamant about finding out what that was. So when I came back home, I found a reconnection healing practitioner, and I had a session. She didn't know a thing about me, that I lost my son, nothing. And after the session, I felt lighter. All my grief had lifted, and I was just in a whole different state. And I thought, this is amazing. And so I had another couple sessions. I went back to Chicago to learn how to do this, and I started doing reconnective healing when I came home, when I went back to Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been doing the Huna for self-healing and the reconnective healing for other people since 2009.
Mm-hmm. So, getting to your higher self,
Mm-hmm.
give us some clues about doing that.
Okay, there's a recipe in the book
Okay.
also,
Yeah.
how to do it. It's through the breath. The connection is through the unconscious mind, which you have to, again, send a prayer. It's like sending a prayer up the pipeline to this higher part of you, which doesn't have a physical body. So it looms overhead and it waits for you to come in and ask it to come in. And the breath is one way of, of inviting it to come in, breathing in sets of 4. So I have it on a CD enchantment where you have 10 minutes of ha breathing in sets of 4, like you're filling a glass of water. Every 4 breaths, you get the water a little bit higher in the glass. And it's a deep breath through the nose, and then ha breath down through the mouth. And so you do that in sets of 4. And for some reason, that opens up the memory bank of the unconscious, so you can resolve some of these memories that have kind of held on to you. They're perceptions that no longer serve you anymore. And it's like cleaning a room out, cleaning a closet, cleaning your garage. And when you clean that out, then you can send your prayer or your wishes up to the higher self, which brings it down in your body. Now, let me just make clear that once I had that memory and it was cleared and I got closure on it, I began to see myself climbing trees. That began to be the prayer. I wasn't praying to be healed. I wasn't praying for anything, because then that says it's not going to happen. You're in fear. You have to actually see yourself exactly the way you want to be seen. So I saw myself climbing trees, and I knew that if you could climb a tree, you had a good, strong back. That's what gave the unconscious, like a little kid. It's like a little 2-year-old. So it gets that vision. Oh, we're climbing trees. Okay. And so it sends that story up to the higher self. The higher self brings it down into your physical body, and that's how I healed.
So, my question is, I guess, and I'm not sure how to ask this question, so maybe you can help me.
Okay.
Why do we have such a gap or a space or clutter? I mean, why can't we just, like, if we believe, why can't we just, like, why do we have to do that? Why isn't the higher self just no?
Wouldn't that be wonderful? It'd be so easy. We have free will. And because of free choice and free will, we have to choose to want to connect to our higher self. We have to choose to want to connect to the unconscious, to open these things up, or we don't choose. We could say, that's a bunch of baloney. I'd rather go shopping. I'd rather go to the bar. I'd rather do this. We have free will. And your guides, your angels, your higher self, nothing can interfere with that free will. You have to make that choice. You have to make the first attempt to go inside and begin to open up. I had a friend that I was doing kind of a past life regression with, and he had never done this before. And I got him started in breathing, in just doing the 4 breaths. And it can be a little unfamiliar territory. And took him back to a past life and it was just exciting and very astonishing to him that he could do this. And then dreams started happening for him. Because once you start to say to your unconscious that it's okay to go there, the unconscious will go, wow, I wonder if she can handle this today. Woo! And something else will come up that you can deal with, or you can say, oh, I don't think I want to deal with that. I'll just stuff it back down. So it's really your rapport consciously with the unconscious mind that's going to get this
Right.
thing rolling. And free will is there for everybody. Everybody makes a choice over which door that you can open the door, but somebody might say, I'm not walking through that. And I usually, before I get started to do a reconnective healing session, I ask people, are you ready to experience your DNA changing today? Because the frequencies will change and you will go into a higher frequency. Now some people will say, sure, I want that to happen, but their body's saying no. And you don't want to waste people's time. You have to be ready to do this.
So this makes perfect sense what you're saying as far as, having the free will and choice, you
Right.
know, that it's there. But part of this experience is going there and doing the work that we need to do. I have often said that, the journey to the heart is a journey. It's not in your face like your ego is. It's not screaming at you. You have to find it. It's very quiet. It's very subtle. It's just waiting there for you. But you have to find it. It's not going to be screaming at you. You have to do the work to get there. And what Belinda is saying makes perfect sense. We have to do the work, otherwise it's not doesn't have the same meaning. It doesn't have the power, the understanding that we need to have from this, and the understanding that this is powerful work. And as you say in your second chapter, which is a great line, by the way, I loved it, and I used it actually in when I was writing about the show because I thought it was just so cool. Um, the second line, the second chapter says, "Sissies turn back." Why do you say it that way?
Oh, I guess, it's not for everybody. Some people don't want to take an active role. And I don't want to name call, but
Right.
that's what we were referred to. If we didn't want to go ahead, we were called sissies.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
just to get somebody's attention, so I'm not
Right.
a sissy. I can do
Right.
this.
Right.
It's all for the highest good that I'm
Right.
trying to maybe push people into thinking that yes, you can do it. You don't have to be a sissy.
Right.
It's here for everybody.
Right. Yeah. It is not. Um, it's an interesting word because we all come at this from different places and different experiences and
Right.
different comfort zones, or different life lessons, different. We've come with with different lives, having been reincarnated several times, or different times, or one time, or whatever. So I guess I would say that this is anybody. It's not easy. Somebody once said to me some of the work I was doing for myself was going to put hair on my chest because it was not easy. It was very complicated. It was scary. You find yourself sometimes alone in doing things that you would not maybe have done with before. Uh, Sometimes you're the on the skinny branch by yourself, dangling in territory that's uncharted,
Right.
and you don't know how it's going to go. And that's all part of the beauty of what this work is about. I feel like it's there for pretty much everyone, and it's up to all of us to do this work. And it
Right.
doesn't matter where you are. There's gain to be made for wherever you are and for whatever experience you already have.
Maybe something that could help. I remember Tony telling me this, and I took that. If you change the vocabulary, it
Yes.
changes the way you're looking at it. And I remember the first time I did a race in my Formula Ford. I was really scared. I started getting scared. Like I felt like I wanted to pee in my pants. And then I just said, no, no, this is exciting. This is really exciting. I'm getting myself ready to be excited. And the same place where scared is the chemicals are manufactured, it can also manufacture excitement and
Mm-hmm.
get you wanting to go ahead. So as soon as I said it was exciting, I was like prepared. I was in
Right.
a different body shape. So, you can call this work, this is play. This is how I'm going to find out more about myself. You just transformational vocabulary sets you on a different path so that it won't feel so scary, that
Mm-hmm.
you can manage it, that you're at the point where you can manage this, and it's going to lead you to becoming higher frequency oriented, and um, just give you lots and lots of benefits.
Mm-hmm. So your book, talk to us more about your book and what people will find in in your book and your website. Do a little bit of marketing.
Okay. Well, the book was written with just all the love and joy. I didn't want to write a book, so I felt that I had 3 CDs. I have um, they're on iTunes and MP3s, and I thought I had done what I needed to do to get this work out there. But once I had my reconnection done, which is a 2-day, it's once in a lifetime, it accelerates you on a higher soul path. And I had that done, and I kept hearing, you're going to write a book and you're going to enjoy it, and it's going to teach thousands and thousands of people, and you're going to really put it out there. And I just didn't argue. So I took 3 years out of my life, and that's what I did. I talked about how I healed my back, how that recipe is there for everyone, making it very simple. How to forgive yourself, how to neutralize the playing field that you have now, how to neutralize the blueprint that your unconscious mind is working on, and how to bring you into a place of completion with yourself. You can use what's in the book to, not be a sissy anymore, and really go in and start doing the things that you've always wanted to do. Because if you have a dream and you've thought it, somehow it can become actualized, even if you don't think it has a chance. I mean, where did I get that I was going to be a stunt car driver?
Mm-hmm.
If I hadn't answered that call, I never would have had a career that I had. I didn't even know how to drive a stick shift when I went to that racetrack.
Mm-hmm.
So you can come from just nothing, and somehow that's in your destiny to fulfill. But if you don't
Mm-hmm.
take that first step, it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so I encourage you to just move forward in that direction of your dream, to quote Henry David Thoreau.
Right.
And that's what the book is about. And it also has a chapter on the reconnection and the reconnective healing, which I treat separately. And it really is a blueprint. If you resonate with it, talks about the dolphins and the dolphin trips that I take people on. And you can go to my website. It's Huna Healing, Huna Healing, HEALING.com. And it'll give you the spiritual journeys, the weeks that I take people out on this, which is September, all the weeks of September this year and the last week of August. This will be my 18th year of taking clients to meet with the wild spinner dolphins. And it's
Mm-hmm.
all about raising your frequencies. That's what the dolphins do. They sonar you, they heal you in ways that your heart just opens. That's what reconnective healing does, doing your own self healing with Ho'oponopono, which means to make right right. And you can just say to yourself when something sad comes up, I love you. I forgive you. Thank you. And if you say that mantra to yourself, your higher self will begin to neutralize the connection that you had to that event or that person. And then you can begin to create whatever you want, your soul purpose, create that in present time. But you have to have a playing field that's neutralized.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what doing this is about. So Find your friggin' joy.
so
Cleans the
so
plaque of your soul.
so there is a specific recipe
Yes,
for doing Huna in your book, and
yes.
that includes the breathing, clearing the way, asking your higher self. Um, is there anything? And you wrapped yourself in green scarves for part of
Yes,
your
I
healing.
did.
Is that all part of what's in the book?
I didn't. I think I did talk about that. I know I talked about putting a healthy spine in front of me because you want to
Right.
feed the unconscious mind. The unconscious mind, remember, it loves repetition.
Hmm.
It just loves repetition. That's how it formed its habits in the first place. And it doesn't process negatives. So you can't just say, "Help me get out of pain." The only thing it's going to see is "get out of pain," and it hears pain. It doesn't hear the negatives. So you can't say, "Don't be in pain." It doesn't hear don't, it just hears "be in pain."
Hmm.
That's how the unconscious works. So you want to put there exactly what it is that you're creating. If it's a
Hmm.
healthy heart, it's a
Hmm.
healthy spine, a healthy brain, you want to drink that into your psyche and then just begin to thank it. Thank you for remembering how to return me to perfect health.
And
And
this
so
is
you repeat those.
and this is the Huna teachings. What you're saying right now, is that
A,
part of the Huna?
a little bit, yes,
Okay.
a little bit, because again, they cleansed every day. The ancient Hawaiians met as a family at sunset to clear out old judgments, old perceptions that they had with themselves or with one another. They wouldn't allow that stuff to stay in the body.
Hmm.
So they were very much conscious and aware of saying good things to themselves. And if they
Okay.
didn't, they would, let it go down with the sunset into the water
Hmm.
and do this ancient Hawaiian forgiveness. I have that on a CD. It's called Chant and Forgiveness, and that's on my website as well in the store. That was the first thing that I ever put out.
So,
So
so a
you
big
can,
part of Huna is the forgiveness. I mean,
yes,
that
it's the
is
heart. It's
that's
the
the
heart of
part.
who.
So, is to do Huna, we have to
Forgive yourself.
forgive yourself, practice forgiveness, and
Self forgiveness.
because it's hard to ask for more or something when you can't forgive yourself.
Right. I mean, this is just again, you ask. Well, during the day, things will come up for you. Sometimes you might feel sad. Sometimes you might feel angry. Just things will come up. How do you handle that? Do you delve into it, or do you just say, "I'm sorry"? You can just say, "I'm sorry. I love you. I forgive you. Thank you." Just those four phrases will be enough to neutralize the connection you've had with those perceptions.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll start feeling better just doing it. You don't even know why you've been sad or angry. It just comes up.
Interesting.
But those are the neutral words.
Perfect. Well, there is a lot to be said for what Belinda is talking about, and certainly based on her experience, she knows. So I would definitely reach out, check out her book, go to her website, check out her recordings. You can. This is, I want to say this is not rocket science, but and it isn't really.
No.
And so it's the intensity that you come to these things with. Obviously, for 4 days, for her to heal her body, she was really intense on it, and she was a total believer. She
Yes.
believed it through her entire beingness that she could, and
Right.
she didn't want the alternative.
Nope.
So
Nope. That was not meant to be.
no, I guess not. And so I appreciate your coming here, Belinda, and sharing, your stories with us. You've been a wonderful guest today. I appreciate it so very much.
Thank you.
And I thank everybody for being out here and listening and being part of this and sharing your energy with us because I can feel it when you're all here. So I thank you so much. Belinda, you've been terrific.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And
Mahalo.
mahalo to you as well. And our paths are going to cross again because I'm going to go check out your cassettes.
Okay.
So thank you all so much, and we'll see you next week. Bye bye.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, My Life, My Will with Gisela DiCarlo, The Tanya Love Show, Health Then with Debbie Bruck, Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Triangle Be Well with Howard Jacobson, Lunch and Learn with Rabbi Yisrael Cutler, Lessons of Vietnam with NCVVI members, Parent Dome with Ryan Miller, Current Affairs with Amnon Nissan. And if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section on nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Atomos.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.